Now the latest from ITV News Central in the Midlands.
Hello, welcome to ITV News Central. On the programme this evening.
We want justice! We want justice!
Angry breast cancer patients protest over delays in compensation.
A new dawn for Coventry City, but is Tony Mowbray the man to keep them up?
We take to the skies over one of the region's engineering marvels as it gets a service.
A royal performance as the King's speech hits the stage in Birmingham.
And two of a kind, the twins from Gloucester so different they have to prove that they're related. Good evening. Dozens of women who were operated on by an allegedly negligent breast cancer surgeon have been protesting outside a private hospital where they were treated. They're demanding compensation after unorthodox surgery performed by Ian Patterson, who was suspended by the General Medical Council in 2012.
Spire Healthcare, which runs Parkway Hospital in Solihull, apologised to the women last year but insist Mr Patterson was self-employed at the time and they are not liable for his actions. Andy Bevan has our top story.
We want justice! We want justice!
These women were all patients of cancer surgeon Ian Patterson, suspended since 2012 by the General Medical Council and currently under a police investigation. His unauthorised method of breast removal, called cleavage-sparing mastectomy, or CSM, left some tissue in place for cosmetic reasons, but that tissue was also susceptible to cancer cells returning, and in more than 250 of his patients, they did. Other patients were told by Mr Patterson that they needed surgery when in fact they didn't. In all, about 1,000 women at Solihull Hospital, which is run by the Heart of England NHS Foundation Trust, and at two private hospitals operated by Spire Healthcare in Solihull and Sutton Coldfield, had to be recalled after the surgeon's activities were discovered. A report in 2013 found that Mr Patterson's NHS bosses knew about his methods but didn't stop him. Several patients have since sued the trust and won compensation. But at the privately run Parkway Hospital, Mr Patterson worked on a freelance basis. He was not employed by Spire Healthcare, and even though they too admit they were aware of his methods, they say they're not liable for his negligence.
It's absolutely appalling. How can you have a big organisation with medical staff working with you and you're saying they're not employed with you?
And all this has come because it was a culture of greed within Spire. They put the consultant first and didn't put the patient first.
It's almost 12 months to the day since Spire Healthcare issued a full and unreserved apology to Mr Patterson's patients treated at its hospitals. However, 12 months down the line, that apology is still yet to be backed up with compensation. Alan Oliver paid £6,000 for surgery for his wife Jean. She received a CSM from Mr Patterson, but like so many of his patients, her cancer returned. She died in 2013.
You can't have someone under your roof doing operations and saying, well, it's nothing really to do with us. And by the way, yes, we did tell him to stop, but he didn't. And it's nothing to do with us. It doesn't make sense. I'm not after monetary retribution, I'm after justice.
There are now further delays. Mr Patterson's lawyers, the Medical Defence Union, withdrew financial support for him in June 2013, and a psychiatric report presented in November last year said Mr Patterson lacked the capacity to instruct his lawyers. And Spire Healthcare recently changed its legal team dealing with the claims.
It's only right they are compensated so that they can afford to live and pay their bills, because the psychological injury is such that they've lost their confidence, they can't go back to work and they can't survive.
Today, Spire Healthcare told ITV News, "We understand the timescale of these cases is extremely frustrating for all affected individuals. However, given the complexity of the litigation, the number of parties involved and the health issues of Mr Patterson, they will take some time to resolve." Meanwhile, these women, and some of the men left behind, continue to make their voices heard. Andy Bevan, ITV News.
A teenager is critically ill after being attacked with a hammer in Birmingham as he walked home with his girlfriend. The two 16-year-olds were walking along Coleshill Road in Hodge Hill at 10 to 7 on Saturday when they were approached by 3 other teenagers. They started arguing and one produced a hammer. 3 boys aged between 15 and 16 have been arrested and released on police bail. The injured teenager is in an induced coma.
Birmingham Airport will start hosting charter flights from Beijing this summer, rebranding itself as Shakespeare's Airport for the Asian market. Around 4,000 Chinese tourists are expected to visit the region on package tours. The trips could contribute up to £90 million to the local economy.
The Bishop of Birmingham issued a plea for religious tolerance as he spoke at a conference about integration in the wake of the Trojan horse inquiry. The scandal concerned allegations about the influence of Islamic conservatives within Birmingham schools. The Bishop said the city needs to renew its commitment to eradicating anti-Semitism, Islamophobia and all forms of religious and racial oppression.
A mother from Birmingham says her disabled son can't leave the house because the NHS has refused to pay for equipment he needs. 14-year-old Hamid Hussain has a muscle wasting condition and needs a machine to help him breathe.
Well, because he doesn't have a portable one, he's effectively housebound. His 19-year-old brother, who has the same condition, did get funding, meaning he can enjoy more freedom. Chris Halpin reports.
Hamid Hussain's mum says this machine's a lifesaver. The 14-year-old was born with Duchenne muscular dystrophy. He's prone to infections and has breathing problems because he can't clear his chest. The machine helps him cough, but because it isn't portable, Hamid is stuck indoors.
It's a bit depressing sometimes because I get bored every day and it's like you're just stuck there. And sometimes in the summer when it's a nice day, I'm not stuck in the house.
Hamid's working hard on his GCSEs, but is falling behind because he can't go to school. The portable cough assist machine would change that, but at £5,000, it's a cost the NHS won't meet.
It would definitely change a lot of things because one, he'll be able to go to school every day and the staff there will be trained to use it. Secondly, he can go out more, socialise more with family, friends and go to the cinema, which he really likes to do. I just think that the NHS do not realise that this cough assist machine is a life-saving equipment.
They act almost like a vacuum cleaner, removing secretions in the lungs, which makes a huge difference for people with muscle wasting conditions, some of whom have muscles that are too weak to cough. So they can in some cases improve quality of life, in other cases they can save lives. That's why they're so vital and we want to see access improved right across the Midlands.
The local NHS group in charge of funding said, "We can't comment on individual cases, but cough assist machines are not routinely commissioned by the NHS. In general, we need to prioritise limited funding based on the needs of the local population, and we do this as fairly and equitably as possible." Hamid's 19-year-old brother Ahmed also has Duchenne muscular dystrophy. He did have a portable machine paid for, but it's one thing they could never share.
The infection could be passed across to him. Would kill us basically. That's how much of a risk it can be to us, can be fatal. And a simple piece of equipment takes seconds to use, can make a big difference to someone's life. I think it's like, it's a human right really, to be able to breathe.
Hamid dreams one day he can watch a live football match like other teenagers. But only with the help of a machine will that dream ever become a reality. Chris Halpin, ITV News, Birmingham.
More foster carers are needed in the Midlands, and organisations that recruit them are trying to dispel the myth that you need to be part of a so-called traditional family to do it. In the West Midlands, there are 9,130 children in the care of the local authority, but a shortfall of 910 foster carers to look after them.
Well, this week, fostering agencies are appealing to people from the lesbian, gay, bisexual and transgender communities. They say you don't have to be part of a couple to foster. Earlier, I spoke to Dan, who's a gay foster carer, and I started by asking him why he wanted to do it.
Well, I'd been working in hospitality for God knows how many years, and I felt that I needed a bigger challenge from what I was already doing.
There are plenty of things you could do sort of short of becoming a foster carer. Specifically, what was it about this field that got you into it, and how did you find the process?
The way that I got into it was by calling foster care associates and speaking with them about what the challenges were, and seeing if that I would be appropriate to do the job.
Kulvinder, you're the supervising social worker, or you were in Dan's case, so it's up to you, I guess, to pair the right young adult with the right carer, so you can see why this is such a lengthy process. Tell us more about it.
I mean, from the point that Dan would have picked up the phone, he would have expressed an interest in fostering. Our job is to assess his skills, what transferable skills he comes with. Why he wants to foster is obviously a critical one as part of that process. And then once he's approved, because we know so much about Dan, that's why we're so careful about making sure we get the matching right. If we didn't know so much about Dan, you know, it's not for us about children moving from one foster placement to another foster placement. It's because we know so much about Dan that we're able to make the right decision at the right time.
So if there were people from the LGBT community watching this this evening, what would you say to them to encourage them to maybe get in touch or consider this?
Do it. Yes, there is a lot of challenges working with young people who are looked after by the local authority, but the benefits that come out of it, children doing well in education because you've supported them through it, or showing emotion, is the best thing.
Kulvinder, I just want to ask you quickly about the perception that people might have at home. Some people watching this might say, well, you know, children should be brought up in a more traditional way, you know, a couple together, either married or not married, but a heterosexual couple. That would be the traditional way of bringing up a child. Why is that not necessarily better than the situation Dan's in?
I just think we live in a changing world, and the reality is that there's lots of people out there who probably cancel themselves out because of their lifestyle choices. But as an organisation who encourages diversity, we would be saying, pick up the phone and let's have a chat about it, really.
And you got a lot out of it?
A hell of a lot out of it.
That's a good way to end. Guys, thank you very much for coming in and talking to us about it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Well, if you'd like more information about how to become a foster carer, then just visit our website. The address is itv.com/central.
Now you're watching ITV News Central. Still to come on the programme this evening, is Tony Mowbray the man to stop Coventry City dropping to the bottom tier of the Football League?
And we're at the heart of the Canal network, getting some TLC to fix a leaky lock. That's coming up in a few minutes' time. Now, though, to take a look at what's on ITV a little later in our News Current Affairs programme on assignment. Here's Raggy Omar with the details.
Tonight, Robert Moore finds out how the people of Cuba are being affected by the rapprochement between the communist island and the United States. Martin Geisler looks at what British expats living on the Costa del Sol think of politics back home in Blighty. And Chris Choi travels to Sweden and meets Bjorn Ulvaeus, the ABBA frontman, who is championing an increasingly cashless Stockholm. That's on assignment tonight on ITV at 10:40.
Now, you probably know that the Midlands is crisscrossed by canals, which were first dug during the Industrial Revolution. They're still in use today, of course, but every so often they need a little bit of TLC.
Well, we've been to one stretch of the Grand Union Canal where workers have been repairing a leaky lock. Hatton Locks is a marvel of engineering which allows canal boats to go uphill and downhill. It stretches for 2 miles, and in its day it transported sugar, tea and spices, and it became known as the Stairway to Heaven. Mark Goff reports.
This is the Hatton Flight, a series of 21 locks stretching into the distance on a gentle incline. This part of the Grand Union Canal in Warwickshire flows downhill. And it was first dug in 1799. But the narrowboats couldn't travel uphill or downhill, so the engineers of the Industrial Revolution had to come up with a solution, which was boats navigated the drop or the incline 8 foot at a time in each of the 21 locks. They've lasted well, but every so often they need a little service. So the locks need to be drained.
Well, this is a really eerie feeling because I know that there's a massive wall of water being held back by these steel gates. Now normally that water is held back by these lock gates, 2.5 tons each. This is lock 34 here at Hatton, and it was originally dug in the late 1700s, then rebuilt in the 1930s by the Grand Union Canal Company. Now the work they're doing at the moment is right at the far end, is they're repairing those lock gates because they were a bit leaky.
Well, we need to repair them just simply. It's like a mid-term repair. We would prefer a gate to last 25 years or more. And so what we do is we come in part way through and try and do a little bit of a refit, and the idea is to keep as much water in the canal as possible. Water is precious to us. If we do some the work we're doing now, we hope to extend these to perhaps 27, 28 years. From our point of view, the longer the better.
Yeah, because they cost a few quid as well, I
imagine.
imagine.
Well, that's the trouble. Each one of these gates is going to cost £3,000 or £4,000 each, but that's the little cost. The big cost is all this you see around you. So for us, we don't want to keep changing. We have thousands of lock gates. Obviously, the longer we can make them last, the better it is for us.
But if they do need new ones, they're still being made by hand here in the Midlands. Huge pieces of English oak are planed, sawn, shaved and bolted together into tight-fitting lock gates at the Canal and River Trust's own workshops in Bilston in the Black Country. Dave Constable is in charge.
Complete lock gate, it weighs between 1200 kg and on average 1350 kg.
What's that in old money?
Say a couple of tonne, maybe 4 tonne. Our cranes go up to 5 tonne, so we can cater for up to 5 tonne.
How much would you get through in a year?
A lot.
In their heyday, these canals transported tea, sugar and spices. And such was the relief of the narrowboat men and women at finally reaching the top of the flight that they had their own name for it. They called it the Stairway to Heaven. Mark Goff, ITV News, Warwickshire.
Now, still to come, the twins that have to prove that they're related.
There they are. First, though, Steve is here to talk about the sport. Coventry has a new boss, and for many, a familiar face.
Yeah, absolutely, very much so, yes. He's been widely predicted already, hasn't it, that Tony Mowbray would take over, and he has indeed replaced the departed Stephen Presley. He's now holding the Coventry shirt, but as you say, no stranger to Midlands football fans, as he previously spent 3 years in charge of West Bromwich Albion. He took them to the Premier League and a Cup semi-final before eventual relegation. But now he has a very different task. Not promotion, but League One survival, keeping a Coventry side up, who are just a point above the drop. So can he do it?
They found a way at the weekend to win what was on paper a very difficult football match, and so it shows me that the players have the desire and the determination to drag themselves out of their current plight, and hopefully by tweaking a few things we can find some consistency of performance and win some football matches and give the squad the belief to push up the table.
So confident he can guide the Sky Blues in the right direction. He certainly did that in his time with West Bromwich Albion, where he was very popular for his attacking style of football. After that he had a spell with Celtic before almost guiding Middlesbrough into Europe. But then a near 2-year break came from management, which ended today, of course. I wanted to know why he'd taken such a long break.
People I love, really, my family and my friends were saying I was looking, you know, a bit drained about it, and it can do that to your football, and sometimes you need to reinvigorate yourself. I poured myself into my family, really. I've got 3 young boys under the age of 10 and played a lot of football in the garden. Done a lot of school runs for them and been on a few holidays and just enjoyed my family and recharged and I'm ready to go again.
That's a pretty good reason, isn't it? Well, he'll need all that stored up energy in the months ahead, and it might be just months. He's only been signed until the end of the season. I asked Chief Executive Stephen Waggott why such a short-term deal.
Going short term just to get the contract and the commercials done quickly, and then we review again immediately the last ball of the season's kicked. But the prime focus is think of purely on football terms for the next 9 weeks. Make sure we navigate away from the relegation zone and see where we end up, and then we'll end in discussions following that.
Well, Coventry are at Barnsley tonight, but Mowbray won't be giving the orders until Saturday's home match with Port Vale. Good luck to him. Now, tributes are being paid to former Derby County manager Dave Mackay, who died last night aged 80. He enjoyed honours with the club as a player in the 1960s and led the Rams to their second league title in 1975. He also had spells managing Walsall and Birmingham City. Derby County's flag at the iPro Stadium has been lowered to half-mast as a mark of respect. Chief Executive Sam Rush has called the former Scotland international a club legend whose name will be forever etched into their history. Now it's big Midlands derby in the Premier League tonight as Aston Villa and West Bromwich Albion go head-to-head. And there is one house in Birmingham which is quite literally divided by the teams. This attic bedroom in King's Standing is shared by brothers Alex and Emilio Suvelius. Alex's half is dominated by the claret and blue of Aston Villa, and Emilio's half is a homage of the Baggies. Their mother says the boys adore each other, but when it comes to football, it's a constant feud. I can only imagine. And I tell you what, that feud is going to go on for a while longer because they meet tonight. Yeah. And then they'll argue about who should have won, who did win, and then they meet again in the FA Cup at the weekend.
I wonder if they've been naughty as a punishment. They have to sit on the other side of the room.
Yes. You'd never do that.
I love the way they're just sat on their beds talking about it. We'll just discuss it.
Yes.
We'll never fall out about it ever. Brilliant.
Yeah, I have a feeling it usually gets a bit more heated. And it certainly will tonight. Certainly will at the weekend. Maybe we should catch up the next week and see if they actually still speak to each other.
Yeah, we should, shouldn't we?
Steve, thank you very much indeed. Now, the national and international news follows us, of course. Let's have a look at what's coming up. With the details, here's Alistair Stewart.
The lethal mix of failures at a seriously dysfunctional maternity unit. 11 babies and 1 mother died. 9-day-old Joshua Titcombe was among the victims at Furness Hospital in Cumbria. Ministers call for an overhaul of midwifery. The family of Becky Watts say they are devastated after body parts are found at a house in Bristol. The boss of Barclays calls for an end to free banking. And the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Woodpecker and the Weasel. Join Mary Nightingale and me at 6:30.
The King's Speech is one of the most successful British films of all time, based on the true story of King George VI and how he overcame his stammer. Now it's being taken from the screen to the stage.
Well, the production's been brought to life by the artistic director of the Birmingham Repertory Theatre. It's playing there now and will later head to Malvern in Worcestershire as part of its nationwide tour. It's already had rave reviews, but can it live up to the film? Our reporter Lauren Hall's been finding out.
When talking to yourself, do you stammer?
Well, of course not.
Proving your impediment is not a permanent internal fixture.
We all know the film, but this is how it started, as a play. Now the stage show of the King's Speech is being brought back to life here at the Birmingham Rep. It tells the story of King George VI and his relationship with Lionel Logue, a rather eccentric speech therapist.
You're peculiar.
I'll take that as a compliment.
What's it like taking on this role where you're having to play a real-life character who's struggling with this debilitating condition?
I have to say, I think it's probably the trickiest thing I've ever done. The stutter is remarkably sort of complex. Oh no, you must understand, I can't
Try singing.
I guess that sort of strange thing as an actor, that you do inhabit something, so you sort of feel it, and before you know it you're stuttering ordering cappuccinos. So it does sort of get under your skin, really.
My husband is, well, he's required to speak publicly.
I have to see. The film won numerous awards for its portrayal of the royal and his stammer.
Perhaps he should change jobs. He can't.
Please be so kind as to sit on your husband's stomach.
What?
Gently, of course.
With good reviews and standing ovations, the play appears to be continuing that success.
Ooh, are you all right, Bertie?
Uh-huh. Jason Donovan plays the speech therapist, fellow Australian Lionel Logue. He told us how much he's enjoying it.
It's a great thing to be part of, a really special piece of theatre. And essentially it's a play about friendships and about people and about fear, so it's not just necessarily, you know, this historical piece.
As well as the two leading men, the play includes the wives.
Milady, Your Royal Highness, the first time. After that, ma'am. Not ma'am as in palm, but ma'am as in ham.
There may be friction between them on stage, but off it, it's a different matter.
When you're going on such a long tour, you really hope that the people are going to be nice, because otherwise it could be a nightmare. But everyone's been really lovely, so I think we're going to have fun.
Yeah, we're going to have a great time.
They're hoping their audiences will enjoy it just as much as the play continues its nationwide tour. Lauren Hall, ITV News.
Yes, that Jason Donovan.
Jason Donovan.
The one you used to have posters of all over your wall, apparently.
Kiss his poster before I went to bed every night. Did I just say that?
You did, yeah.
Oh dear.
Now, Kylie, let's not go there.
Now, the King's Speech will be playing until Saturday in Birmingham at the Birmingham Rep, and will be in Malvern's Festival Theatre from the 28th of April.
With Jason Donovan. Let's not relive it. Now, imagine being a twin but having to prove that you are related to your sibling. That's an everyday occurrence for sisters from Gloucestershire who look strikingly different.
18-year-old Lucy Aylmer has pale skin and ginger hair, while her sister Maria has darker skin and curly black hair. They've had to show their birth certificates to friends to prove they're related. They were both speaking on Good Morning Britain earlier.
Well, they used to ask about it, and then obviously we didn't get believed, and some people would you know, because my siblings are darker as well, they used to ask if I was adopted.
Really?
We do make a big fuss about it sometimes when they go, we don't believe you, and we're like, oh, we've got birth certificates we can show you.
So you have birth certificates on hand just in case?
Yeah.
And the quirk is due to their mixed-race parents. Non-identical twins come from separate eggs, so inherit different genes. More details about that.
Wow.
Because I sound like I know what I'm talking about, but I don't really. It's on the website, itv.com/central.
Right then, let's get the weather forecast. Here's James Wright.
What's in store for today? ITV Local Weather, sponsored by Centre Parks.
Good evening. A few showers around today. A few sunny spells too. Hopefully more in the way of sunny spells tomorrow, and hopefully fewer showers too. We also get some milder air moving towards us. Why? Well, at the moment we've got a northwesterly. It's dragging quite a few showers across the UK, many of them sneaking down the Cheshire Gap there. As we run the sequence though, the high pressure starts to take over. You can see that ridge developing up across the UK, hopefully holding that low pressure system out towards the north and west. Importantly, should actually introduce some milder air over the next few days. As far as tonight goes, just one or two showers continuing through the night, mainly on the high ground. Could still be wintry. Elsewhere, a yellow warning in force for slippery surfaces. That's for parts of Shropshire and Staffordshire. Elsewhere, it should be a cold night, but not too frosty because of the strength of the breeze, lows of 1 or 2 Celsius. Tomorrow morning, mixed bag, 1 or 2 showers holding on. Should be brighter elsewhere, and everywhere should improve as we head into the afternoon. 8 to 10 Celsius, the high, still a little bit breezy, so it might not feel that mild, but things do get warm as we head towards the weekend. Have yourself a good evening. Bye-bye.
ITV Local Weather, sponsored by Centre Parks.
Time for a reminder of tonight's top stories here on ITV News Central before we go this evening. Dozens of women who were operated on by an allegedly negligent breast cancer surgeon have been protesting outside a hospital in Solihull where they were treated. The women were given unorthodox surgery by Ian Patterson, who was suspended in 2011.
A mother from Birmingham claims her disabled 14-year-old son can't leave the house because the NHS has refused to pay for the equipment he needs. Hamid Hussein has the muscle wasting condition, muscular dystrophy, and needs a machine to help him breathe. As he doesn't have a portable one, he is effectively housebound.
And Tony Mowbray has been named as the man to try and keep Coventry City in League One. Coventry are just a point above the drop.
And that's your news and weather. And that's all from us for tonight. The national and international news is coming up, and we're back with the late news at 10:30.
So more about this Jason Donovan revelation. Bye for now, by the way.
Wow.
Which was your favourite song?
The lethal failures at seriously dysfunctional maternity unit where 11 babies and a mother died. A damning report says their deaths were due to failures at every level at Furness General Hospital.
Nobody's lost the job, nobody's been suspended, and I think on a scale of this, with the huge failings that are there, then there should be some kind of accountability.
Ministers order a review of midwifery services right across England. I'm live in South Cumbria with reaction to that report.
Also tonight, Becky Watt's family devastated. Police remove body parts from a Bristol house. 7 are arrested. A review of child abuse in Oxfordshire as nationally. Cameron says it's gone on and on an industrial scale. And the boss of Barclays tells ITV News it is time to end free banking.
This is ITV News at 6:30 with Mary Nightingale in South Cumbria and Alistair Stewart in the studio.
Good evening from South Cumbria. Today's report was damning and the government's apology tonight has been unequivocal. A lethal mix of failures was what lay behind the unnecessary deaths of 11 babies and 1 mother at the hospital behind me, Furness General. The Health Secretary Jeremy Hunt called it a second mid-staffs. Paying tribute to the courage of the families, he announced immediate steps to stop it happening again. Here's our health editor, Rachel Younger.